it's Dan. Welcome back. And welcome to a video that has kind of evolved on me here. It started out, it was going to be just a review of this Citadel Blood Bowl Skaven Blight Scramblers box, which is already unusual for this channel because we don't typically review Games Workshop products because I feel like there's tons of channels out there that do that. This set actually was sent to me courtesy of Young Seward, my Australian buddy, who sent me a care package that we unboxed about a month ago. And so this set was included in here. I was just gonna review it, and I actually had plans to convert these up as some goblins for my goblin army. But as I was going through and doing the review, something struck me that I just kind of wanted to talk about for a little bit. Event, I guess, is more what this video is going to be in line with. Let me give you the SparkNotes versions of the review anyway, just for those who are curious about that information. The box, again, this is the Skaven Blight Scramblers set, which it looks like Games Workshop sells, still on their website. I'm never quite sure because they kind of churn through product these days. But I really like the marketing, the branding on the box anyway. Games Workshop does a really good job with that. You can see there's two of everything that come inside of the set, but it gives you a good idea of what the models look like when they're all assembled and painted. And indeed, once you open it up, you're going to get a kind of little baggie with what ended up being 13 32mm bases, which I found quite funny. I don't know if that was a production run issue or a gag, because this is Skaven. But then you're going to get two identical sprues of these figures here. So these are the 6 figures and the tokens that are shown on the back of the box. But you're going to get 2 of this sprue. You get an instruction guide, which is always useful. You can see there breakdown of how you build the figures. On the back, actually, for those who do play Blood Bowl, I do not, but looks like there's some information there that might be useful for you guys. And then not, I guess, unusually for Games Workshop, but it's not something they do on all of their products, is a little transfer sheet. So there you go. So that's the set. From a scale standpoint, they're pretty darn close to, this is a Island of Blood Skaven on the right. They're a little bit big. I would call them like Storm Vermin scale if you're looking to like blend these in for conversion work in your army. But there you go. Not a bad kit in terms of detail. What it made me feel, though, as I was going through and starting to do this review process for this set, is kind of sadness for what Games Workshop used to be. And let me be really clear that like this is not intended to be a rant about pricing, for example. I do think Games Workshop miniatures are expensive, certainly per model, compared to a lot of the other options that are out there. But I have an economics background. I work in corporate accounting now. I'll just tell you freely, like they can charge whatever they want. If people are paying for it, then there's no issue there, right? I do have issue with some of their like marketing practices, specifically when it comes to inventory management. This might be getting like too into the weeds. This wasn't really the intent of this video, but they do stuff like bundling limited edition models together with like old stock, deliberately withholding stuff from some of their FLGSs, and then having that stuff magically available on their website, but not distributing it out so that they can sell it direct to consumer for a higher margin than they could sell like going through any of their distributors. So that kind of stuff I find kind of shady, and I don't like that so much. But I really wanted this to focus mostly on the miniatures themselves, because that's kind of what this channel is about. I guess I'm sad more than anything that Games Workshop has become a company that produces monopose plastics. I guess that is kind of like the root of what I'm getting at here. Because it didn't always used to be that way, that when they started introducing plastics back in the 90s, the main advantages to that were, one, that they were substantially cheaper than their metals, and two, was that they could produce kits with options on them for you to build in different ways, and kit bash, right? It was almost like they were encouraging that. In fact, I can prove that. This is, I guess, maybe what kind of happened here is I do flip through my old White Dwarfs every once in a while, and maybe I was just doing that recently, and that is kind of what triggered some of these feelings. What they would also do, you can see here in the back, you could direct order individual metal components from some of the blister packs that they sold at the time for conversion work. And they would do that, like they would have heavy metal articles that would show you like how to do certain conversions, and then give you like, here, just basically buy these bits, and you can buy them direct. And you can see they were all reasonably priced at the time. But here, this was early in their foray into plastics, because like here, some of the individual sprues that you could also direct order are broken up. These are like the old Marauders. Here are the first Chaos Warriors and like the mutation sprue as well that they put out. But you can see even then, even like these sprues, despite this White Dwarf being from 2002, these sprues are actually from like the mid-90s. You can see even then though that they had options for everything, right? Like in terms of heads, the weapon options. You can like, you know, mix and match, even just like torsos to legs, right, to create some more options. So it really leaned into the main benefits of plastic, which were not only to have cheaper models, but models that you could customize. What makes me sad about this, again, having now put a couple of these together from the other sprue, is that it makes the whole experience of putting the figures together kind of soulless for me. I don't know, like it, like if you look at this figure, there's nothing technically wrong with this, right? It's like beautifully sculpted, and this is push fit too. So even from like a technical standpoint, it was really impressive the way that they designed these figures to be able to just kind of push together. I would still recommend you glue them for what it's worth, because I don't know how long the like the push fit hold will stay. But like if you were to pick this box up for yourself, you're gonna get two identical versions of this figure, which is like, okay, cool, for $52, I think is what it is US, for 12 figures, to have two of them be identical is like, why not just get metal figures at that point, right? They're much more durable. You can actually get more detail out of metal than you can with even like highly detailed Games Workshop plastics, right? So like what's the benefit here to me as a customer, especially when I compare it to options on the market like this Victrix Foot Knight on the right, and we just reviewed these. This was the most recent review that we did on this channel, the Victrix Medieval Foot Knights, which is I think about $1 per figure is what we mathed out on it, and it's for a true multi-part plastic. There's like dozens of head options, dozens of weapon options that you can all mix and match between the different figures, right? So the figure on the left is like $4 something US, and the figure on the right is $1. And again, from a detail standpoint, can anybody tell me with a straight face that the figure on the left is massively more detailed than the figure on the right? I would actually submit that I think the figure on the right is more detailed than the figure on the left, but I know it's not an apples to apples comparison here. And again, the main criticism of this figure is not that it's not detailed enough, it's plenty detailed. And even from a design standpoint, while I don't like especially the Age of Sigmar designs have kind of been a little bit Warcrafty for me. My issue with Games Workshop is not with their design. My main criticism here is with the miniatures themselves, that they don't make multi-part plastic miniatures anymore. And it seems to be a really conscious choice, right? Because I think they could. I think from a technical standpoint, again, from what we see here, they're able to put together sprues of miniatures that you can push fit and have stay together and have retain this level of detail. I think if they wanted to, they could make these true multi-part plastic. And I think what makes me sad is that they're making a conscious choice to not to. And we've seen this pivot really ever since Island of Blood, probably, honestly, I think is when they started dabbling in this world of monopose figures. And I've really never turned back. If anything, they've just kind of been leaning into it. And I understand the vision, I think. I disagree with it, which is that they want to market everything essentially toward the new hobbyist, the one that needs to pick up all the paint, the one that needs to pick up the clippers and the files. They need to pick up everything for a new army, whereas us veteran players have a lot of that stuff. So we're going to maybe pick up like a couple of things on release, but we're not worth hundreds of dollars every time Games Workshop puts out a product, right? So because that new gamer in their mind, I disagree with that philosophy again, because acquisition costs being what they are, but that's a whole separate conversation. But given that they've made the decision that the new hobbyist is the most important hobbyist, and the fact that they are now designing their models exclusively for that new hobbyist. They don't want that new hobbyist to be kit bashing and converting and direct ordering bits. That's too complicated. They want the new hobbyist to be given a push fit monopose plastic figure that looks cool, right? Like it's a cool figure, you can't deny that. But that's it. That's what they want. That's what they want their miniatures to be. Anyway, I don't really know what the point of this video was, other than just to maybe, as I said, vent. I was feeling kind of sad, so I wanted to share that sadness with you all. And as I said, I'm not petitioning for change of any kind. This kind of is what it is. But I was just remarking on the fact that Games Workshop is doesn't make the same miniatures anymore that they used to. And I don't mean to sound like an old man shouting at the sky and, you know, wishing for a bygone era, because I don't. As I kind of alluded to earlier, I have plenty of options now for really beautifully detailed multi-part plastic sets, right? I'm not sure where else to go with this other than to say, if you're interested in this set, I think it works just fine. I would recommend you look into some like conversion options so that you don't have multiple identical figures in your Skaven Blood Bowl team. But beyond that, if you're looking for other multi-part plastic options that are on the market, maybe like some of those figures from Games Workshop that I was alluding to that used to exist, check out, I've got a couple of playlists actually that have reviews from, I think we're up to like 7 or 8 different companies that produce true multi-part plastic figures, many of which I feel are much more detailed and of better quality than what you can get from Games Workshop these days. So check those out if that's something that interests you. Sorry again for the little hiatus here. I'll have more review content, more hobby content coming here soon. I've been on kind of vacation, as you can maybe see from my tan, spending some time at the shore with the family. So anyway, appreciate you all for dropping by for this one. In the meantime, if you're still here, very grateful for you for sticking through to the end. But I'll see you on the next one. And until then, happy gaming.